Hi, you've tuned into the Sacred Media Group, and this is Diva Lee here with you today. And I have a special guest here, and she's especially very special to me. She's my daughter, Casey. And we want to talk today about an app that Casey has invented, and it's for safety. That's why it's called Safety First today. And we're just going to talk a bit about how women can keep themselves, their family, their children, even if it's just, like you want to check out a babysitter or something like that. So, in this day and age, everything's sort of, people are struggling, and there are more and more violent episodes happening. There are more and more people being scammed, and just to have that peace of mind, well, as far as we actually can give you that peace of mind, or Casey can give you that peace of mind, she tries 100%. So, hi Case, how you going?
Hi, Mum. Should I call you Mum?
You can call me Mum. Oh dear. So, Casey, look, what a fantastic thing. And I've been wanting to get this and promote it and help you promote it, because
Thank you.
The world is just in absolute chaos at the moment. Talk about Sodom and Gomorrah. And if we can actually try and keep ourselves safe just for a couple of dollars, we should, take safety first.
Yeah,
and so
100%.
How did you come up with the idea, Case?
Well, I'm a open source intelligence investigator, and for years I had people come to me who had already been scammed or already been in a relationship where they've been stalked or harassed or abused. And these were facilitated by dating apps or websites, because when you're on these platforms, you expose yourself to so many more people than you normally would just if you're hanging out in your own area. And unfortunately, that makes you a target sometimes to people who are preying on people. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, you don't necessarily have to be a vulnerable person. You just have to be a person, because that's one of the massive misconceptions, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So with this, I was just sick of having these people come to me and hearing these heartbreaking stories, and everything I found for these people, for these clients of mine, already confirmed what we already knew. So either they were a terrible person, they had a court history like as long as your arm, or they just weren't a real person at all and it was a scam. And I had access to this information, and I was like, well, it's not helping you now, but if only you had this beforehand, and you would have saved yourself thousands of dollars and heartbreak, and even some people just their absolute livelihoods and their mental health. So I thought, after years of doing this and wondering why no one was doing it, I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to do it myself. So it's just a service to try and help you confirm whether they're a real person or not, explore their court history. And I also have a central reporting system, because the government shut down a lot of what we can actually genuinely access unless you are a part of that case. Now, if you have been in a domestic violence relationship and you have those court records, you can submit them to me and I can alert people to the person that you might be looking into. Like, say that, yes, there was a domestic violence case here. They've done these terrible things. Because what we know about domestic violence and violence in itself, because the way society has worked, where we swept it under the carpet for such a long time and no one's really held accountable, and there's this kind of code of silence around domestic violence. And because of that, they just go on to the next person and the next person and the next person, because the consequences are either non-existent or certainly not enough to put you off doing the wrong thing. So I just wanted to create this reporting system to help ensure that, stop people from moving on to the next victim, because that's one thing that I saw over and over again, is that there's not millions and millions of terrible, terrible people out there, but there are a good amount of people that do the wrong thing time and time again.
Mm. Yeah, yep. Who are your main customers? And are you surprised by who are utilising your services?
Yeah, so look, Quick Look, it surprises me every single day. I get quick looks in. So when you have a quick look, it's $19.99. And I get people having a quick look into potential business partners, potential roommates, potential lovers, and also the reports I get in surprise me as well. So I get reports from people that have been scammed in love, abused, pedophilia, that type of thing. It's wild. I feel like every day is a different day. It's just such a simple little service. And there's only so much information I can give people because of the Privacy Act. But it's certainly something that if you can be alerted to the fact that there is something there, then you can be more wary. And that's the thing, is that when we say that love is blind, or you're looking for a new roommate and this person seems really great, and we actually rush these things and we skip over mentally things that might hinder the outcome that we want. So if we want this person that looks like, hey, they have a good job, they're going to pay rent on time because the last person was just terrible, but this person has been in QCAT for all these different things, then you know that that's probably a bad thing. That's when you would have a quick look to see that kind of thing.
Well, the pedophilia is near and dear to my heart. I've been trying to alert people and have written a book about it before. Sorry, I just slammed a drawer there while I was talking. So, and when you think about it, the different applications that you could use it for with your kids is not only just a boyfriend, a school teacher, a babysitter, if your kids are going to camp, you check out the camp and the teachers that are going to be there, and if you haven't got all the names of the teachers, why not? You know, it's time for us to take back the responsibility, and it just takes a little bit of research to give you peace of mind and probably save your child from a horrific experience that nobody ever wants to go through. You know,
you're starting to crackle again.
Okay. If
Maybe.
you keep talking, I will just go back in and do the settings thing again.
Okay.
So talk about the pedophile thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's pretty unreal. So there are men on dating apps that target women with children, and they have done it time and time again. And the reports that come in, I haven't had a report about a female pedophile as yet, but I know of one. She was a school teacher. But the reports that I get in are women who have been through a court case with that person, and they've sent me the court documents, and I can see what the judgment is. It's just horrible. And to think, it's just unconscionable to people like you and I that someone would go on a dating app, target a parent to get into a situation where they have access to children, and it's horrific. And considering Quick Look is still kind of like the best kept secret, I'm not out there and massive, but the amount of reports that I have had through about pedophilia is astounded me. To be honest, it really has.
Yeah. Am I still crackling?
Nope, much better.
Oh, good. Okay, let me know if it does it again. I know how to fix it now. So, what was I going to ask you? So even with divorce settlements and things like that. I would even check out the lawyers that you're going to be, potentially employing, things like that. It's just if you sit down and think about it, even for just 5 minutes, and just the different applications that it can apply to your life, it's just amazing. So have you had any men like checking out their potential girlfriends or flatmates? Or
I have. I had one over the weekend. He believed that the person that he was dating wasn't real, and she wasn't. He was correct. So luckily he had a quick look because he was starting to fall in love. But there was just a couple of red flags that were popping up for him about it. So quick look at the moment. The way I have it set up, it is targeted with my marketing to the niche industry of dating. But if you have a quick look and you just want to check out a roommate or something like that, I highly suggest you do. I will be changing that, just changing it around a bit to make it more accessible, or make it look like, yes, you can absolutely do it if you just want to check out a teacher or a roommate or someone like that. Because at the moment it's really set up to look like, oh, it's just for people that are dating. And even if you're buying something off Gumtree, I've got a friend who bought a car off Gumtree, $15,000. They seemed really genuine. They said, oh, look, just in case I'm a scammer, you can put it in this, like there's this company that if you put the money into that account, then they hold it. And when you get the car, they release the funds to me. And that whole thing, the holding company was a scam. It was just a website that they'd set up. And so $15,000 she lost. And just this happened to her a couple of years ago, and just for fun, we looked up the person that she said that she was dealing with. And yeah, they didn't exist. So she had a quick look first.
Wow.
They use fake names. So his name was like Joe Blogs or something super Australian. Had an Australian address. The address wasn't real either. But those are the kind of things that I can confirm for people. And it's just like I was saying before when I said I was getting ahead of myself. They're not just targeting vulnerable people. They're not targeting people that are in terrible positions. Like it really helps if you are a vulnerable person or in a bad position, they're more likely to get you. But the way that the scams are going, they are so complex, and they're coming at us from every possible direction, from tolls, like messages from tolls around Australia, Ozpost. There's ones going up at the moment that for animal lovers, they put up a post of a dog that's been hit by a car saying, hey, this dog on the Gold Coast I've taken it to the vet. I found it had been hit by a car. It doesn't have a microchip, so I'll look after it until the owners are found. And so hundreds of people look at that and go, oh my God, that is terrible. Like they'll like it and they'll share it, just trying to find the owner. And then they'll switch it to a different type of post. So saying that, hey, this room is for rent. And they'll set it up so, if you pay a $500 deposit, then you can secure the room, and they'll just get heaps of money that way. So they're coming in thick and they're coming in fast. They're getting more and more savvy. And with ChatGPT, like it used to be pretty simple to spot an email because you could just go, oh, there's a spelling mistake there. That's not really great English there. And now with ChatGPT, they can use that, and now they sound eloquent, and the spelling is immaculate between Grammarly and ChatGPT. Like it's really difficult to spot.
It sure is.
Again.
Oh, God. So sorry. It'll just take me 1 second. I don't know why this is happening. If it keeps it up, I'll have to get rid of the microphone.
Okay.
For today.
Yeah, it's better again.
Okay. Maybe I should leave the echo cancelling off. Maybe that's what it is. What if I try that for a while?
Yeah.
I'll keep it off, because what I'm doing is turning it on and turning it off and turning it back on again. So anyway, we'll see if that works. Now, my experience was, because I wanted to get the word around about my book that I've written, and I was writing to different YouTubers that have, larger numbers. And one even was a star on a show that he started his own blog. And I thought, well, I've seen them post things about similar things as my book's about, and I thought that I would contact them to see if they would have me on their show. I actually had a pop-up saying, oh, where are you from? And how would you like this interview to go? And I actually thought, this happened to me twice. Once was on Facebook, once was on Instagram, and they were sending me a list of questions. And then I would send the questions back. And it was lucky that the American lady that I was writing to was one of them. She was on Facebook. She wrote back and said, what are you talking about? And I said, you're asking me all these questions. And she said, no, I'm not. So somebody had hacked that in between. And then I contacted a guy on Instagram. He was the star of another program. I just sent him a message, and then a couple of weeks later it got back to me and said, we're very interested in you, and can you please give us your details and we will contact you soon. And I thought, at first I got excited thinking, oh yay, that'd be fantastic. I absolutely love this guy. And then I started thinking, hang on, I had that other thing, and would he really contact me himself, or would his producer contact me? So I just deleted it and got out and tried to get rid of the message and everything. But it wasn't him, because he never ever got back to me and say, hey, why aren't you getting back to me?
Yeah.
So how does that work? I mean, that is just crazy.
Yeah, they set up different websites.
They've just become so
savvy.
Savvy, exactly.
Yeah.
So savvy. And it's probably bots. Do you think that would be bots, or would that be like a single person sort of thing?
I really don't know.
And how do they get in between me and their thing? And yet they can't have been hacked, otherwise the lady from the first one, from the Facebook one, wouldn't be able to talk to me at the same time as this other person was talking to me.
Yeah, but they very much could have hacked them, because if they have a huge following and they're talking to someone, they can intercept the messages and still just log in with the same password as the person and have a conversation and manage to intercept it quickly enough so that she's not seeing the messages come in and they can respond. So I've seen YouTubers have their life's work disappear in front of their eyes because they opened a PDF which had a virus in it, which had a keystroke logger, and also it recorded all of the code that went through the computer. And what happened was they found the session token for his YouTube, so they didn't even need his password or his 2FA. He had everything on there, it was super secure, but they found his session token, took that, got into his YouTube account, and deleted everything. He got a notification saying things were being deleted, and he just got up and I think he was going to bed, and he was watching just his life's work just disappear in front of his eyes. So what they would usually do with that is they would set up it's Elon, because he had millions of followers, and they would change it to Elon Musk, and Elon Musk would say, okay, if you put $200 down now for the new car that's coming out, you'll be guaranteed a spot. And they would have it going live, and people would be like, $200, hell yeah, I'll put that down, and they just get thousands of dollars through things like that.
Yep. And then they'll shut that down, and then they'll start something else.
Yeah, so you crackles again.
Yeah. Oh, my crackling's back. Okay. if I put one of the photos up, do you want to talk about that, and I can take me off and just take the. Yep. Oh, there you go.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is a study from 2022, as it says, from the AIC, who do some amazing work. And they did this survey of, it was huge, like 10,000 Australians, which is pretty, like, that is a huge survey. And 56.7% of heterosexual men, 76.9% of heterosexual women, 84.9% LGBT plus women, 76.1% LGBT plus men, and 78.9% non-binary experience dating app facilitated sexual violence. And when this came back, the results were shocking, because to hear that over 50% of men even had experienced sexual violence during dating was just horrifying. And to see that 76.9% of heterosexual women and 84.9% of LGBT plus women as well, like, these numbers are just, they are really nuts. So we know that there are people out there that are doing bad things, and they are getting away with it, and they are utilizing dating apps and websites. So, like, the other numbers are 2.2 million Australians have experienced physical or sexual violence from a current or previous partner. And one in 6 women and 1 in 16 men have experienced physical or sexual violence by a current or previous partner since the age of 15. So we have this epidemic of sexual violence. And just, even if you take sexual violence out of it, if you think of coercive control and things like that, which are huge, financial abuse. We have internet abuse or digital abuse now, where they check their phones, they restrict their internet access, all that kind of thing. It's insane. And if I can help someone avoid dating someone that has, like, I do not, if I was single, I would not want to date a man that has a domestic violence order out on him, or that has been to court because of like bad sexual assault or pedophilia, all that kind of stuff. I do not want anything to do with someone like that. And the thing about these people is that they end up being single, and they go on these dating apps and websites, and they do look for people, and often they reoffend. So we talk about this in the forms of recidivism. And so recidivism, it's a difficult word. Recidivism means that you have been charged with an offense, and you do it again, the likelihood of you doing it again. So recidivism numbers are huge in Australia, because, as we know, while we have a jail system, it does not really work when it comes to rehabilitating people. So, well, it doesn't work. It's very rare, unfortunately, where people feel or are rehabilitated. So these numbers are massive. And yeah, as I was saying, if I can help someone avoid those people that come out, that do go on the dating apps, they're all charming and lovely, and they're good looking, and either, like, depends on the person. It could be a few months down the line, it could be a few years down the line, and then you'll end up experiencing violence, and their behavior comes out all over again. So it's just, it's scary. And as a survivor myself of domestic violence, I know the toll that it can take on your life. And it's a lifelong thing that you have to deal with, especially if there are children involved. And I've seen friends go through it. I've seen people that have reported to me through Quick Look who are consistently going through it. It's just, it can be a life sentence if you go through this. Even people that are scammed. I interviewed a lady for my podcast, and she was scammed 10 years ago. And the scammer still emails her abusive messages, and it destroyed her confidence. Not only can it take your money and like can take your confidence and the toll that it has on your mental health is crazy. And these numbers are just, and we talk about epidemics or pandemics. We've just been through one. And if you look at those numbers and think that that's okay, then you're sorely mistaken, because the toll that it takes onto society and the flow and effect it has is just, it's not
And from
good.
your experience, Casey, how did you go at the police station when you had to report it? So,
Terrible.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's not, a lot of people say this. So even if there are statistics that have come out recently, I don't quite remember where I read them, but there was an article in it discussing whether people that experience domestic violence or sexual assault, whether they actually get closure from getting a conviction. And unfortunately, they said no. Most of the people surveyed said no, because not only are they abused or suffer domestic violence, they have to go and report it to the police, where the police are not educated or trained or equipped to deal with this kind of stuff. They're trying to fix that. I know they are. I know they're trying to fix it, but it's happening too slow, and the kind of ingrained misogyny is very difficult to deal with. So that's a terrible experience. And then when they finally have to go to court and they have the lawyer for the defendant tearing them to pieces, trying to destroy their credibility, even after going through domestic violence, you have a different kind of assault on yourself as a person. It's a really, really difficult process. So
paying the $19.99 Australian dollars,
yes,
is going to be such a, that stopgap. So it will, it's going to stop a lot of heartbreak, a lot of trouble, a lot of potentially violence, saving your money. And it's not only those things too, it's you're never going to feel safe. If you have dated somebody that's been violent towards you after the first couple of dates, just when you start to get comfortable with them and taking them back to your house, you're not going to be sleeping. It's going to affect your health. If you've got kids, it's going to affect how and what you let your kids do, instead of thinking that you live in this beautiful, safe environment because you've been subjected to this violence. $19.99 is very, very inexpensive for peace of mind and to stop everything that's going to happen to you that's out of your hands once it's done. And it really is out of your hands, because the police certainly don't give you any peace of mind, or they don't give you any hints or tips or anything like that. They're too busy. Yeah.
And this is something that, oh, sorry.
And what is the age gap that you're mostly finding? Is there any surprises there? Are they older? Are they younger?
No, I've had a bit of a mix. It's mainly been late 20s, early 30s, all the way up to 75. Because there are people, we get like the rates of divorce as well as the rates of domestic violence. They're both huge. So, and we naturally want to find that person. We want to find that one person that we can call our own. And the easiest way and the most socially acceptable way is through the websites and the apps. So it's people are jumping up and down saying that the dating websites and the apps have a responsibility to keep people safe. Absolutely, they do. But they're not doing much about it.
No.
So there was a roundtable in Canberra at the beginning of the year where there was victim impact statements read from people who had suffered sexual violence from dating through these apps. And they had the big names from Tinder and Bumble. They were all there in Canberra with our ministers discussing this. And they basically paid lip service and said, oh, okay, if you report them, we'll remove the profile. The thing is that that profile is removed and they go back under an alias, and then they remove from that. And even if they manage to keep stopping it, they move to a different dating app. So not all of them. There are like matchgroup.com, they own Tinder and Plenty of Fish and a bunch of others, but they don't own Bumble. So Bumble don't know what's going on over at Tinder, and the likelihood of them sharing sharing information is very unlikely because they are in competition. And what they said is that, hey, if there is a third party that starts up in Australia that's willing to do this, then we're willing to work with them. Sorry. And that's me.
Even like for parents, I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, look, if I had children these days and they were like 17, 18 and going out for a night, like a full night with somebody, I would be wanting to pay for your services to check them out too. You just never, ever, ever know.
Yeah.
It could be a 25-year-old taking your 17-year-old out and, you think that they're 18.
Yeah, I can't check on minors, but yeah, I can definitely check out the 25-year-old.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. And even for online, the social media, to try and keep you safe on social media, and to also see if somebody's married on one of these apps, like a Tinder app or something like that. There's no checks and balances there, is there, to see if there should be something, shouldn't there? I don't know why they include something like yours to like maybe pay that extra to have them checked out before you actually even talk to them. So like, if you've been through it before and you've had some troubled relationships, to have an app that's attached to these other dating apps where you could actually do a quick look there before you start even talking to somebody. It could be included in the price of the dating app. So it's amazing.
That's the dream.
I bet. It's a fantastic dream. And also for employers, big business employers, small business employers, do you have somebody checked out? You're trusting, if you're like a restaurant owner, you're trusting people to deal with the till, taking people's credit card details, to maybe to see if they've got any medical, psychological conditions where they could be going off occasionally. It's good to know all of this stuff, and they're not going to be telling you, and there's no law to say that they do have to tell you, but there's no law telling you that you can't do it yourself, to make sure, to double check people that you're employing.
Yeah. So I certainly don't have access to medical records, but court records are the biggest kind of thing that I have access to. And I will be advocating in the future for more information as an enterprise that is working on this. I would love to work with the government, with the different states and territories, to get the specific court data that you need, because it's very generic. And the New South Wales government are currently working on a right to ask scheme, which means that you'll be able to call a phone number, and it goes through to the police. They're piloting it at the moment, I believe. And it's pretty ridiculous, but you have to say, I've been in a domestic violence situation before. I don't want to be do it again. Can you let me know if this person that I'm seeing has any of that against their name? Now, I'm pretty sure that we really understand how stretched police resources are in Australia. It's just, and then to ask the police to work on this scheme on top of everything else that they do is just crazy. So if I can provide this information, which I can to a degree, then it would just be so much better, so much easier. Yeah. Rather than, you shouldn't have to be a victim of domestic violence already to not want to go out with someone that has been a domestic violence offender in the past. It's just, that's insane. It's saying, well, it's never happened to me before. I should also be able to say, well, I don't want it to happen to me in the future. And there's just the government, each state and territory is throwing tens of millions of dollars at this. And they're not solving it. They don't understand how. They don't know how or why we've spent so long protecting criminals and their judgments, and it's just, the numbers speak for themselves. They're bad enough now where we should be able to say, hey, if you are going to commit a domestic violence act, then it's going to have implications for the rest of your life. Just the same as if you commit murder or robbery. If you do domestic violence and you're found guilty, then it should have implications for the rest of your life. Like it makes no sense that they wouldn't.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And what about this business model? Have you seen this in any other countries at all? And do you know how popular or how well they're going in other countries?
Yeah, so there is one that I keep a close eye on. It's called Garbo, and they're American. That's the only kind of equivalent that I can find. She was a victim of intimate partner violence through someone that she met on a dating app. And she was just like, well, I should have been protected, and she wasn't. So she started this, she's done the rounds, she's given TED Talks, and now she's partnered with the likes of Tinder, where they can give you certain information. And it's even because of the different laws per state in America as well. Like it's difficult for them. It's a hurdle that every country will have to eventually tackle. Any country that cares about intimate partner or domestic violence will have to face this at some stage. And I'm the first in Australia. Garbo is the first and the only one in America, because it's not simple. Unfortunately, if it was simple, then there'd be a million people doing it. And I'm just coming at it from an investigator point of view, and I can see what I have access to. I have access to court records, whether it's criminal or civil, and sometimes whether it's a domestic violence order or a depending on what state it is. So that kind of information, and I believe people absolutely have a right to know.
And I don't know whether you spoke about this, maybe you have while I was mucking about with the sound, but you've got a reporting back to you for people who have had an incident happen, so that you can put that. Then have you spoken about this?
A little bit. So when I see those reports come through, in order to still protect the person that is being reported and avoid any defamation suits, I use a flagging system. So this was a big thing. I knew I wanted a central reporting system because I knew that I couldn't just rely on the information that I see with court data and things like that, because that's not all there, and sometimes things are suppressed. So, and I knew I wanted something just in case there was bad behavior, like if someone got way too handsy after a date and wouldn't take no for an answer, that kind of thing, that bad behavior, which eventually escalates into worse behavior. So I knew I wanted a system to be able to report, and I thought maybe, like I was thinking along like Black Mirror lines, like social credit score type things, but it's obviously, we know that that's not great. And I did a lot of research into how I could possibly do this, and I came across a really good paper about a flagging system and about how just using flags, different color flags, to show that there's something there. And I was like, well, that's a brilliant idea. So a green flag for someone who hasn't been reported. And say I get a report into Quick Look where the person, like I said, for example, the guy got too handsy. He wouldn't take no for an answer. He tried to force me into his bedroom and I got out of there. Thank God. Like, I hope that this never happens to another woman. That will be lodged, and that will come, his profile will now have an orange flag against it, which means that there is a report and you need to beware, but you don't need to stop. And I can't give any more information than that because it's an unsubstantiated report. But person beware. Yeah. And then if I get a report in from someone that has a domestic violence order, or they've actually been scammed by someone, then that profile will have a red flag against it. So you know there is substantiated, like some evidence there that it's not great, whatever that is. So it's a red flag. And people then are empowered by that knowledge and that information, even just a simple flag, then they can make an informed decision and say, hey, like, maybe you could have a conversation with the person about it if you trusted them, if you felt safe enough to do so, and sit down with them and say, hey, I had a quick look on you and there's an orange flag there. And of course, with anything like this, and it's the same with policing, it's the same with lawyers, I'm expecting people to act as mature adults and be able to communicate and be able to have those conversations and be able to use the information that they get from me responsibly. So yeah, it's just constantly working on it and getting as much data in as I can to help people, because knowledge is power. And
absolutely.
And it's also protection. It can save your heart, your wallet, and even your life. There have been 9 women that have died in the past 17 days in Australia due to domestic violence. So 9 women in 17 days. It's nuts. It's just, and I know I talk a lot about women. These are the reports I get through. These are the headlines that often happen. I know this happens to men as well. It doesn't happen on the scale that it happens to women, but it does happen. And Quick Look is just as much for men as it is for women.
Yeah. Women, for goodness sake, if you're in or you have left a marriage due to violence, please don't go and meet that person again with only you there. Go, make sure, that if he says, come and talk, I want to talk about the kids, we don't need to go through lawyers. No, forget that. Make sure that that you actually get there either well ahead of time too, if you're going to be meeting with lawyers, or sit in your car until you see him go in too, and maybe, there's so many things that you can do to be careful, even though you don't think that they're capable of doing that much harm, like taking your life or severely injuring you. They will, because if they were doing it in your marriage, they're heartbroken now and they're narcissists. So they will do anything to get you back at you. Narcissists.
The statistics there. the statistics there are actually 70% of domestic violence cases happen after the partner has left. So it's extremely difficult for women to leave because the violence does escalate. Like, even if it's often that the partner, like the male partner, is often back on dating sites already and dating and sleeping with other people, but will still have domestic violence with their ex-partner because it's a controlling situation. So 70% of domestic violence happens after the person leaves. It's just like one of the women that died in the past 17 days. She had left and he sent her a message saying, hey, can you come over? We need to talk about the kids. They had 2 young children, 2 or 3. And yeah, he allegedly, I have to say allegedly, killed him. So this happened in Sydney. It happens too often. People are
you just never know, and they try and keep it quiet and keep it silent because they're in love with the person that's committing the violence against them, and you don't want other people to feel badly about the spouse that's actually harming you. So and we've been taught in society to keep this thing so hush hush, it's like pedophilia. Well, no, that's not right. Tell people, keep a diary, especially if things go wrong, then the police have got a diary or something to go back through and think, oh my God, this is happening, been happening for a while. At least they've got some evidence. If something really, really bad has happened to you, the police will find the evidence, will find your diary and see that you've been writing.
Yeah. And trust yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. And it's really important to trust yourself. There's an amazing short film that I think it's English. The UK are amazing at raising awareness about this. And it's about a lady that's in a abusive relationship with a narcissist. But so the narcissist spoils her and buys her gifts and remembers her mum's birthday and buys the mum gifts and is really good at helping dad out if a pipe breaks or something like that. And so when the girl says to her parents, like her family or her friends, like, I think I'm going to leave this guy, they're like, are you crazy? And she's too ashamed to say what's actually happening and no one else can see it. So they create these walls around themselves. Trust yourself. Stick with yourself. It is difficult. The gaslighting that happens,
everybody in this world is far, far too precious to have to go home every night or have the violence come home every night. It's just totally ridiculous. My husband and I were staying in a B&B a couple of years ago to visit a niece who had just had a baby. And we actually sat up all night listening to this guy bashing his wife. The children were there. The children were screaming. And because I didn't want the kids to have to go into child care, with the social services, because things happened there now that I know about. So I didn't report it. And I just hope to God that woman got away. And so, it is best to stop it before it starts, because there's so many consequences if you stay yourself with violence. There's so many consequences. Your family, your kids, your friends, you'll lose the lot. You could lose the lot. Even if nothing happens to you and you just put up with the violence, you're going to lose out on a lot of life just to put up with somebody who doesn't actually really love you. They just love the control over you.
Yeah, exactly. I went to an amazing charity event recently for a foundation called Hearts of Purple, and they help women escape domestic violence relationships. They've got like a SWAT team on call to go and get them out. And one of their big things is that domestic violence is everybody's business. It now has to be, otherwise it's not going to stop. It's going to be kept quiet still. domestic violence is everybody's business.
Yeah.
And you've got the legal system is really finicky and difficult here, because often, like, women who experience domestic violence at the hands of their partner, the court system doesn't necessarily recognize that, and the father will still get parental rights, and so you're still constantly being put back in that situation. Because the thing that we know about kids is they're better off with their parents, no matter how violent they can be. Like, it just, time only tells kind of what will happen, but it's definitely, they prefer to keep the children with the parents, and even that extends to violent people.
Yeah.
So yeah, the consequences are huge. Imagine having someone do something terrible to you, like choking. Choking's a massive domestic violence tool that they use. Imagine having someone choke you. You've got kids, you manage to leave, and the court system says that you have to take your children who witnessed that person do that to you, and they have to go and visit them like 2 weeks out of every 4. It's just, it's horrible. It's heartbreaking. And like, the kids will be crying. Like, I've seen this. I've had these reports come through. The kids are crying, and they do not want to go to their father's house, who they saw choke their mother until they passed out. It's just, the consequences are huge. So if I can just help one person avoid that, I just
Exactly. And the psychological conditions that the kids grow up in, I know of a family, a large family, where the father was a very angry man and a bit of a violent man. And a lot of the girls in that family grew up, toughened themselves up specifically so it would never happen to them. But the anger and the violence was coming from the women, the girls who grew up and became women. So they actually themselves become the abusers.
Yeah.
So not realizing that they're exactly the same as what they wanted to avoid happening in their lives.
100%. Yeah.
There's so many implications here, so many, if you sit and do nothing to help yourself.
Yeah.
You've got to start taking your power back. And this quick look, it's going to change people's lives. It really, really.
So. Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah.
It's giving you back the power. It's making you feel powerful again. At least you're doing something, before you go out on a date, on that 3rd or 4th date, especially because, I suppose that for the first couple of dates, that can be okay. But even then, I suppose some violence does happen on the first date if things don't go the way that one person planned it to.
Oh, drink spiking is still out of control. That's another thing I've learned. Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah. So, and that there was I went viral.
And it's a problem for men and women.
Sorry?
The drink spiking is a problem not only for women, but for men too.
Yeah, because I have their wallets nicked. They have their apartment cleaned out. Yep. There's also, so between the drink spiking, and also men are lured. I had a report come through about a guy that met a beautiful girl on the Gold Coast on Tinder, and they were meeting in a nice public spot, which was on the beach, but it was like at dusk. And he was waiting there at the time that she was supposed to come, and he saw 2 men coming from this direction, and then he turned around and he saw 2 men coming from the other direction. And it was just lucky that there was a couple walking their dog through at that time, and he just bolted. He was set up. So
wow.
Yeah. It's it's hard to read all these things every single day, and it's
happening by the thousands every single day, just in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
No, it's just such an excellent thing to give you back your power, Casey, which I'm all about. So thank you so much. So how do people get in contact with you?
Yeah, so well, I'm on all the socials. I'm probably most active on LinkedIn and Instagram, Casey Pine, or you can see my website there, quicklook.net.au. So you can contact me through that as well. That'll go straight to my email. It's just me. I am a solo female founder. People often will email me or there's also a chat feature on my website that all comes straight to me, and people think that I'm this big corporation. They're like, "Oh, I want to speak to your manager." I'm like, I am. It's just, it's me behind the scenes, working my butt off every day, getting the word out there, networking, applying for grants, speaking at different events, going to different accelerator events.
Yeah.
Oh, I really believe I can make a difference. So
I actually believe you do too, or you will. I know you will, especially once it gets around more. And I think it's such an excellent tool for big businesses, for their employees. It's an excellent tool for. I don't have any little ones at home. I don't live in a violent relationship, but I have got puppies. And if I have a new dog, I guess the first person I'm going to be looking up is Quick Look.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll get a bit of a discount, but.
Well, that's like one of the things. Sorry.
No, keep going.
One of the biggest misconceptions for people that report and people that I've spoken to is that I didn't think it would happen to me. And just with how prolific it is, you have to assume that it might happen and take measures to protect yourself. And Quick Look is just one of the tools that you can use.
Oh, fantastic little phrase to end on. Thank you, Casey. And we'll probably talk again later on, see how things are going and see if you've got anything new to talk about. So fantastic. Okay, we'll say goodbye to everybody now. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. Please, if you're on YouTube, please share, like, and subscribe this and get it round to all your friends. It's only $19.95 for you to take your power back. So thank you very much, and we'll say goodbye for now. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.